Okay, so I left it off at, was mentioning some of the things that happened to me in the nursing home. The first nursing home had blood clots, and the doctor cut me off of blood clot medication. I got a pulmonary embolism, and the first day I was trying to go to the hospital, it said, "You're not going, you're just looking for pain medication." And then when I went there, the doctor was like, "Why aren't you taking your medication?" I'm like, "I take all my medication." He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "Your doctor cut you off of blood clot medication?" He's like, "I'd get rid of that doctor." I'm like, "I can't. She's my nursing home doctor." So some lady comes into my room and I'm complaining. I'm like, "This doctor, well, what is with her? I can't believe it." The lady's nodding and nodding. She's not saying anything at all. She's not saying I'm going to talk to the doctor, this, that. So it's so weird. So she starts to walk out, and I go, "Hey, wait a minute." I go, "Are you the doctor?" And she goes, "Yep," like that. So later, when I was leaving that place, well, before I was leaving, I had a catheter and I didn't know anything about it. They had to clean them or whatever, and they never cleaned my catheter for like 3 months. I ended up getting a really bad UTI that turned septic, and my sepsis was so bad. It was the worst pain ever. I was so thirsty, they don't let me get a drink. But even when I was going to the ICU, they were like, "What's wrong with you, Mr. Tracy?" Like, "We haven't seen anything like this." The doctor or a priest came in, so they were going to get ready to read my last rites. And then also in the nursing home, they were shooting me up with like these electrodes, and I was having problems with physical therapy. And the girl even said, she's like, "You're gonna hate me for doing this." I didn't even have spasms at the time, and then I started to get spasms, and my nerve pain now. Well, the spasms got so bad. Wait till you hear what ended up happening to me in the third nursing home, which was put that nursing home to shame. It was literally like almost like they're whipping you, but worse. And I'll explain that. But that was my first nursing home. What was I gonna say that happened? Oh yeah, they told me that you get more germs if you clean the catheter than not cleaning it. So now I ended up leaving that place. The first nursing home that I get try to go to, they accept me, but they couldn't like. Yeah, the visitors had to go outside, so I don't want to go there. And so I ended up going to a hospital. They put me into a rehab, and now my leg becomes so spastic they kicked me out of the rehab. They couldn't do anything for me. And I go to a hospital, and then the hospital, they were despicable. They're like, "We're not going to do anything for you unless you start doing physical therapy." And I go, "Listen, I just got kicked out of physical therapy. They said I can't do it, so I'm not going to do that. It's not going to go anywhere." They go, "Well, if you're not going to do it, then we're not sending you." So long story short, they didn't do anything for me for 6 weeks. I ended up going to a nursing home, 4 to a room. The one nurse was so miserable. She was regular. She would go to my deaf roommate and put on his Mexican music and put it on full volume the whole day. So I had to listen to that music. And then they wouldn't give me my medicine in that nursing home, so there'd be times I wouldn't sleep at night because I was still on schizophrenic medicine. Oh, I didn't explain that to you. I'm suicidal because I'm under schizophrenic medicine because I was put in the 3 mental wards by my mother. My father went along with it because so she would secretly go to Philadelphia, and they would have the they would have the chief of police, who was my best friend and my dad's best friend growing up, and it was all corruption. My dad got him the job, and my dad was mafia. I proved that he was a high school bookie, and that didn't prove it, but he had like an intimate conversation with like the biggest mobster, where that was the first sign. I was like, wait a minute, before I even knew he was a high school bookie, and hanging out in pool halls, and his dad was a postmaster general. My dad's a super genius, so he'd be a perfect candidate. And his mother was corrupt, had him in a horse track. That's where all the bookies hang out. That's the casino I hung out at, where I turned $300 into 150,000. Then I got tied into the local mafia home games, and then to the Binghamton Mafia, and I stuck them in big debt. And then when I was going to pay back the debt, I was living at my house when I'm 32 years old, and it was so disrespectful because when I didn't have money, my dad was giving me $20 a day. He hated bookies. He's like, "Take this car." My dad was an expert mechanic. He taught himself how to do it. He didn't tell me why to take the car, but all of a sudden I take the car and I go to the bank at $7,000 out of the 15,000 to pay the debt back 5 years later, and the car just like spins out of control when I cut the wheel a little too hard, and ended up getting a car accident that paralyzed me from the waist down. And I was like, and it happened another time in high school where he like would not let me drink. I was like his bitch. So all my friends were drinking, wouldn't let me drink at all. One time he did let me drink, where two of my other best friends who ended up doing despicable things to me, they're in a mafia too. One actually married into a mafia family, known, and my brother married into a mafia family. They had me set up with a girl who was mafia family, but I ended up breaking up with her because she was cheating on me, and she threw me under the bus that she wasn't. Actually, all this music talks to me. It details how I caught her cheating. We actually met Young Jeezy, or we thought we did, in New York City. That's Empire State of Mind is the song. and we smoked a blunt in the Escalade, and the song goes, "If Jesus paying LeBron, I'm paying Dwayne Wade." And then she said her mom took a bus trip and I was gonna surprise visit her. Or no, she didn't say her mom took a bus trip. She said her mom came visit her. I was gonna surprise visit her, and I had so many suspicions at this point, so I was like paranoid. So I was paranoid for the right reason. So I drove by her house, and here's her mom's car, a Lexus, in the driveway. And her mom was like an elitist. She would never take a bus trip. I'm like, I thought you said your mom was. She's like, oh, mom took a bus trip. And then the sign goes, Mama took a bus. Goes, Mom took a bus trip, ride it like a bus route. And then it says like 2 sentences later, if Jesus couldn't save you, starts where the church ends. And then like Avicii Good Feeling, like it tells me I'm gonna be the president one day, January 1st. It says, I'm an incredible singer, not this, but you'll see when I get music and get a headphone. And I did a little bit, but I was horrible. But when I have headphones in, I'm as good as girl singers, guy singers, rappers. I rap faster than them. But geez, I'm gonna talk faster so I can get through this video. I'm not manic, because manic people can't just slow down your speech. But anyway, all this song music like relates to the afterlife and things that I'm talking about. But one of them is Avicii Good Feeling with Flow Rider. It's one of the songs that I sing, but it like details my life. Like woke up on the side of the bed like I want. Like that's me being paralyzed, waking up. And G5, my birthday's 5/5. It's one of the miracles I'm gonna show you. 125, me and Christ's birthday, 10 of the 13 digits, and I'll give you the mathematics how that breaks down. Because I'm a mathematical genius. I always been even before this stuff, but now I'm the smartest person this world's ever seen. Because God given a gift that when I help people, I become smarter. And I proved that because within 4 days, I would text myself messages to my friend to have a better phone conversation, because everything was about improving and making things better for people. And after I would smoke pot and feel so good, when you feel good, you think the best. After smoking pot, well, it would be routine. I smoke pot every day, but I'd have like a caffeine drink, smoke pot, and have a cigarette. Like 5 minutes after I smoked pot, I would think of these like good things, and I would text them to myself, because I have bad short-term memory, terrible short-term memory, because my brain is so strong. I would be flooded with so much information, I would forget like what I was just like thinking of. Crazy. Like the one day I had 8 thoughts the one day. The next day I had 25 thoughts. The next day I had 80 thoughts. So when I had 80 thoughts, I said to myself, well, I'm not going to write down 80 things. I'll remember enough of them to have a good conversation. I remember like 3 of the 80. So it just shows you how bad my short-term memory is. I have like the short-term memory of a little grade school kid, like 3rd grader, 1st grader. The next day I had 200 thoughts. So within 4 days, I went from thinking of 8 things to 200 things, which 200 divided by 8 is 25 times 425. Which I'm either Jesus or the Father of Jesus. And how could you be Jesus? He died 2,000 years ago. Well, we're reincarnated most likely because we're energy. And we know we're energy because when you go barefoot in soil, energy is through our body. It's measured. And the properties of energy are never created, never destroyed, always existed. So either the energy remains stagnant after we die, or it's reincarnated. So if it's reincarnated, then people like Jesus are back floating around the earth. Wonder who. But, okay, I'm covering everything. So I'm still talking about, I gotta talk about the nursing homes and my father. Oh, the other time in high school, same thing. So I was disobeying him the one time. Oh, with my friends. Yeah, the one time he let me drink, and 2 of my friends sat at the kitchen table. He knew I was smashed. I passed onto my couch, and him and my 2 friends sat at the kitchen table the whole night. And those 2 friends said like the most terrible things to me in college. They were supposed to be my best friends. Like the one kid said, "Oh, there's Tracy," in the movie where the guy was struggling pissing in front of all my friends. And I was so popular in college because I was like the stunt double. I was like Johnny Knoxville, jumping through windows, breaking every window in the house. And then I was like nuts. I would drink 50 drinks. We were all drinking tons, but I would drink 50, equivalent of 50 drinks, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was waking up on graduation night. I woke up on top of our Mexican neighbor's car. The guy knocks next door. He goes, "Can you get my friend off my roof of my car?" Sleeping in a suit on top of his car. I woke up in the middle of a highway once, like in the middle of the lane. Woke up on top. I didn't wake up. I was on top of a roof in a hotel hallway, in a hospital, jail. No idea how I got there. I had a DUI once. I was pissing in the cop sink, and I thought I was paranoid. The guy's going, "Put your dick away." I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, Joe, lose your paranoia. He's like, "Stop pissing in my sink." And I was like, holy shit, you got me. But, so I don't want to lose track. So yeah, the other time in high school it happened too, where I was going with my friends after ring night, and it was crazy because the priest said don't run into church walls, and I actually did run into a church wall with my car, and like I spooked them, and rightfully so, because I ended up being Jesus or whatever, or Joseph, the father of Jesus. Probably Joseph, because I teach all Jesus' lessons, and I'll explain that later too. But, so the mathematics of that is I know my dad for 30 years, and 30 times 365 is the way I do my quick math is I do 30 times 300, which is 9,000, 30 times 60, which is 1,800. 130 times 5 is 150, and I add the numbers together. So 9,000 plus 1,800 is 10,800 plus 150 is 10,950. Let's just say it's 10,000. So there's two events in 10,000, two events in 10,000 days. I think it's 1 out of 10,000 times 1 out of 10,000, which 1,000 times 1,000 is a million, but we have 10. So the odds of it just being random would be 1 out of 100 million. So that goes to prove you that like my dad was doing despicable things, and it's their actions also. That's when he would get into huge fights. He would tell me that he loved the dog more than me, and he punched me in the face in college. But he told me he loved the dog more than me when he was drunk. I moved out of my house, and I said I'm going to be better than him. And I would start writing books, and I would text message myself at the casino trying to prove human, and that's when things became surreal, and the energy changed in my brain. It was an energy thing, and that's when things became surreal, and it was like the most great feeling in the world. And then the second time around, it started to have religious signs, you know, the cigarette that smelled like church incense when I met the guy like Moses, and I explained that in the first video. Don't want to get repetitive. But also in the nursing home, so what nursing home was that? I'm still at the second nursing home that they're not giving my medicine. Oh, so the nurse says she's definitely drunk or something. She gets a tube stuck in my penis because I have a catheter. Go to the hospital. They fuck up taking the tube out, profusely bleeding, have to have an emergency surgery. Then they stick a suprapubic permanent tube in me without telling me, oh, surprise, you have a permanent thing in your stomach. So I had to get that removed. I was furious. So finally, I'm like saying, I'm not going back to that place. And the guy goes, nice thing he says, he goes, oh, you're going where all the rich people go, Doylestown. Oh, yeah, real nice place there. First day, 60 milligrams. Oh, first day I try to get out of there. I go to the hospital because this guy is adjusting my bed without telling me. And they didn't take him off me. His name was Kwame, the nurse. And I go, what are you doing? I scrunch me like a pretzel in the chair. In my bed, he's going, don't give me attitude, pointing his finger at my face, don't give me attitude. So I was like freaked out, like I'm calling the hospital, faking chest pains and saying I'm not going back. Well, they sent me back. 6 in the morning, the doctor comes in and goes, starts screaming. I go, who are you? And he goes, who's your doctor? Who's your pain doctor? Tell me right now, I'm taking all your pain medicine away. And at the time I was 120 milligrams, but they were only giving me 60 milligrams. They were stealing it off me in the first nursing home. 60 milligrams, still a lot. And I didn't know, I'm freaking out. And he goes, well, we'll see what I could do. So he takes it from 60 milligrams to 10 milligrams, which is pretty much nothing. So now I'm in this place. They cut a hole in my catheter bag, and I'm so disabled. They put it up on my bed. I'm not even thinking. So now the catheter bag is leaking a gallon of urine in my bed, and I'm having the most excruciating spasms, probably because the first place was shooting with electrodes. So now the catheter, I'm in a gallon of piss, and I'm sitting at the edge of my bed shaking, and what should be like a surgery in a couple... So what should be like a couple weeks to get the surgery, it's called a backless and pump to reduce the spasms, because now my spasms are right now. My nerve pain is excruciating. That's because when I got home, I got poisoned by my best friends, and I'll explain that too. Not about the corruption and what they did and how, like, my best friend who sat on the phone with me 2 hours, I found out like 25 things that made no sense, that he couldn't account for any of it, and there were so many other reasons I caught him. And if I was paranoid with all of it, he would say, dude, what are you talking about? Go over the stuff. But all his friends were mafia. It was all people I met at the casino, and they all ran away from me. It's crazy. But anyway, it took me 7 months to get the surgery, and my mother actually canceled the surgery, and they said they shouldn't have did it. She was the last one, but she was saying stuff when she was drunk, and my mother was an alcoholic, and my dad had my back my whole life. Me and him were best friends, and the sad thing is she got him hooked on alcohol, and then she turned him into my enemy. But I say that, but then again, my dad was doing shit like fucking, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. They were trying to kill me because they knew they couldn't confirm me to mafia. My whole family's mafia. My brother's a fucking idiot. He makes $2 million a year. My brother-in-law's an idiot. He makes $500,000 as a salesman. My best friend, the chief of police, as a little kid growing up, he became the chief of police. My other friend, the two kids that I was talking about who hung out with my dad the one night, both idiots. I don't know how the kid got into law school. He gets into the best firm and he's like killing it as a lawyer. And the other kid like graduated from like a state school with like decent grades. He got like a $200,000 job. And then meanwhile, wait to hear my resume, what I did and that I've gotten nothing for. So the nursing home, what did they do? Okay, so they wouldn't clean up my piss because they said I was spilling drinks on myself. My mother's telling me, like, you made your bed, now sleep in it. You got what you deserved. And she never comes visits me. And my dad comes up and visits me, but he only stays for a half hour. He drives 2 hours up and 2 hours back to give me cigarettes. And on my second surgery, he's like, you're not having another one. Like, he wouldn't talk a word. And he was like, almost no one visited me. It was like fucking awful. And people gave me money in my GoFundMe, $13,000, but I didn't think I needed it. I thought like insurance pays for stuff. And I was so bored, I was playing online poker with it because I turned $300 into $150,000. So I figured I could do that and buy a house. And Didn't work out. So then I guess it was like, oh, you blew the money, so now you're getting tortured. You deserve it. So no one helped me out a second time when I'm ranting about being tortured, which I was. But the one thing is, so finally, the girl says I'm faking it. When I had after I got the baclofen thing and they didn't shower me, I ended up having 4 blood infections. But I was so sick, I had 104 temperature. I'm going to get my medicine when I'm leaving there, and she won't give me the 5 milligram pill. And I'm like, give me my medicine. She goes, fuck you. Just the nurse. So I break out of that third nursing home, and it was like it broke me out of the depression from the schizophrenic medicine, from the abuse of cops. I had cops that were breaking into my house because I was taking a piss and I was exposing myself, putting me in head or choke holds. The other cop they assigned to me, like I said, he slammed my head off the cop car, and then the next year he pulled a taser out on me and then tased me, fractured my skull when I tried to hit it out of his hand. And then I ended up getting the one charged with this shit. So the third one, my brother was the one who put me in. My brother actually said, "Hey, if Joe wants to see his nephew," told my dad, "That's how disrespectful he is, to get the vaccine." Still haven't seen my nephew, even after he's in Philly making $2 million a year. I'm right outside Philly. We don't even borrow any money. I still try to say, "Let's move on with the past," and he's like, "All right." So I go to him this Thanksgiving. It was like 3 weeks before. I'm like, "I'll come visit you." He's like, "No, I'll come visit you." I got a bad vibe. I was like, "Why wouldn't you let me see it?" Here comes Thanksgiving, no invite. The whole family comes, but the whole family was his family, which is mafia, the Benedettos and Pacillos, and my family was mafia. My grandmother was mafia. Their best friends were the Joyces. They're mafia. I was in a card game with the Asian mafia, and I stuck the local mafia guy who goes owe me 3,000. He died. They played cards with the Binghamton mafia, and they ended up taking over my sportsbook account. That's when I got down to 15,000 and stuck to them. So I'm involved with all these mafias, but it's bigger than that. I think I'm the most powerful people in the world. Telling you guys all to completely ignore me, which just makes sense. But why everyone's ignoring me and doing nothing and not giving me any money when I wrote 9,900 hours every waking second after you guys all let me be tortured, just to be the better person. Well, it was because I never felt so good at getting the appreciation that I did from people. I was just trying to eliminate negative energy and increase positive energy because my life was so bad in nursing homes. I was so isolated and going through so much shit. And I realized when I was giving coffee, the residents were so appreciative. Like, this is the drug I crave. So I just became so obsessed with it. Long story short, even after all that, I did that and 9,900 hours. And because I'm the best psychologist and solved everyone's problems, where everyone wants to be smarter, stronger, fearless, funnier, more relaxed, and I showed how to do all those things by helping every week. So I can also explain our existence and showed again, haven't I think I explained that. So I like $500 an hour times 10,000 hours, it's $5 million I gave everyone. I needed $20 back from like 50 of those people, and they couldn't get it to me, so I'm back in the nursing home being tortured with one person who will answer the phone call, and he's in the mafia too, so it's that fucked up. I'm gonna take a break because I'm talking so fast. Okay, so I go to the next nursing home, and I'm thinking this place is the best just because the other place was so bad. But it wasn't so good. I was getting seizures there, losing, like, couldn't remember the name of my nurse, and I'd go to the hospital. They'd wait 12 hours to give me a CAT scan. And the one time in that same hospital, they're like, oh, we don't have your medicine. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was in here a week ago, and you did have the medicine I needed to sleep. And they're like, oh, yeah, we do have it. And then they also tied me down the one time. They said I was trying to rip my catheter out. They tied my arms in and put big mitts on my hands. That was a hell. And I was like trying to rip out of them. I had scars all over my hands and shit. So the hospitals are just as bad, but not like the nursing homes. So I had a couple of strokes there. I couldn't breathe. They said breakfast was more important than my breathing. What else? Oh, my ball sack became 10 times the size. I had this thing called gangria. So I had to get life flighted from that place. And they were stealing off me. That's when I was reporting that. It was more important to me that they were abusing other patients or laughing at like a guy in distress because the other guy would play his TV too loud. Instead of them saying, like, asking the guy, play, could you turn the TV down? They're laughing and saying, he could turn it up as loud as he wants and laughing. Look at this guy. And I had another person screaming back and forth to the patient, fuck you. No, fuck you. The nurse and the patient. Because these nursing homes are privately owned. So it would be like one doctor for 100 people and 2 nurses. And then the people don't want to work in these places. They get agency and there's no watchdog. So you go to try to the state, and if the state finds them in violation, they end up getting a fine. And like I reported like 20 terrible things in the hospital that they're doing to me, like calling me pathetic and not giving me medicine, and they were found not in violation of anything. So just like the casino, like they hire their own watchdog, so they could turn on the machines and not pay out anything, and they could pay like a $500 fine. So there's that. Yeah, so the last nursing home, I forget, there was other shit too. I can't even remember all of it. But when I was leaving, I was going to report all their bad shit, and coincidentally, all of a sudden, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink anything. I would throw up 20 times a day. And then after day 15, when they knew I couldn't die, I would be about to be like, "What's wrong with you, Mr. Tracy?" I'm like thinking to my head, "What do you mean, what's wrong with me? You know exactly what's wrong with me. I haven't taken my medicine the whole time." So I ended up getting out of there. We ended up going back home, and the caretaking agencies were terrible. The one lady, family friends back home, the Pellegrinis, they knew what I went through, and because I was ranting about how I was being tortured, and they never told me that they actually had a caretaking service because I knew I wrote about the bad behavior on the internet. They tried to make my life a living hell. They did, but I wouldn't leave them because there was a girl who had 4 kids and they're 29 years old. But then I gave her like frozen dinners, and I would tutor her 10 hours. And when I tried to borrow a lighter off her, she gave me hell for it. I'm like, "Here, take these 2 lighters. I'll give it to you tomorrow." So I got rid of her and all the caretaker services. One wouldn't bring in caretakers for 2 days in a row and leaving me in my shit. The other one, recent one, stole off me and bought all different groceries, ran out of money. So she's giving me like stale sandwich or plate of rice a day. And this is what I'm dealing with, where people, no one was helping me out. And then she's threatening me, "What are you going to do about it?" And throwing shit at me, saying, "Do this," making me do all my work, leaving for 5 hours at a time. Yolanda was her name. I was living in her brother's house, and he had all the doors locked, wouldn't give me a key. He just walked down to my apartment like it was his place. I'd asked him for pot. He said no, or he wouldn't say anything. Next day, he opens up my door, walks downstairs, smoking a blunt in front of me. Just how fucking crazy it is. And I still wanted to get to a hotel, and I ran out of money because they wouldn't cash my paycheck in the hospital for 2.5 months. So all my benefits lapsed. All I needed was a ride, and then I had to get shot up with schizophrenic medicine to avoid going to a nursing home. I think I talked about that. But now I'm talking about all the corruption, and I want to get into the shit that I'm talking about. So I got sidetracked with the nursing homes, of what I went through there, and my friends all being the mafia, and everyone against me. And I said I was going to talk about that shit. But I'm 21 minutes into this video, I'm 15 minutes in the other, so 36 minutes in. But I think I covered a lot of the shit. So let me get into back to the sheets. Oh yeah, so people hate me because I'm telling them that, they're thinking the wrong way and they're insane because they think we're in control of our actions. You're going to hurt people not knowingly. So it breaks down to like, if we guess predetermination and that God's controlling our actions instead of us, we're not going to wrongfully hurt people, no matter what the probability is, even though I'm going to pretty much show you that we aren't in control of our actions, which would mean we would all get saved. But I wouldn't take that risk because there's a lot of reasons for me to think that, like, people are acting so despicably. Why would God just allow that? But God's everywhere, and since I proved that things of creation don't exist because they had to be created by creators, and God is everything, that means God is everywhere, so He'd be inside of us, and we know that because we're energy and we go barefoot on soil, but I already talked about that too. So people don't want to be told that they've been living the wrong the whole life, so instead of saying, like, they shouldn't be, like, being mad at people and stuff, they continue to do the wrong thing, even though if they know I'm right. That's why people ignore me, I think, too. And it's also, like, I'm going to call them an insane weirdo, and I'm right. People despise people. The people that are insane or people that aren't insane or think they're insane are disgusted by insane people, and no one wants to be weird, but everyone's weird because being normal is being the same, and no two human personalities can be the same. So here's me calling it, "Oh yeah, you're doing the wrong thing, and you're an insane weirdo," and "Oh yeah, you shouldn't be punishing your kids." And the reason you shouldn't punish your kids is because you don't know the lasting impact it's going to have. Take away the video game system, they'll correct the behavior, but they might be so obsessed with the video games that you cause permanent damage. Saw with my sister or niece, or my niece. She got in a fight with kids at school, or not a fight, they were bullying her, she was crying, and my sister said, "Toughen up, toughen up." She didn't know how to toughen up, she's a little girl, so what she did was she isolated herself into situations, and she wouldn't put herself out there because she didn't want to let her mom down. So, what else we got here? Okay, so I disprove Catholicism because you can't have, or it's Catholicism, disprove Christianity because you can't have a God that forgives and doesn't forgive. It's a contradiction. And He doesn't forgive when He creates a hell. People say, "Oh, free will." But then I think if God's smart enough that He would just see people to exist, He wouldn't torture them. Why would He torture Himself? Because God is everywhere. So God is inside of us. That's why I think another reason why I think everyone gets saved. Oh, but another reason why we're not in control of our actions, I forgot to mention this. Even though we started off as equal babies, the life was chosen for us and not by us. And what I mean by that is we didn't get a sneak preview and be like, "Oh, this is what it could have been. Like, you could do this and this. You still want to enter life?" And be like, "No, I don't want to possibly of hurting people." But we didn't get that option. We just are into this life. So it's another reason why we probably all do get saved, because no one really at fault. Besides the fact that, if we all started off as equals and, maybe we're hurting each other with no fault of our own, and it grows exponentially because people that are hurting hurt other people. At least for me, I wouldn't hurt other people, but I would get happy, like back in the day when I was under schizophrenic medicine, like someone I didn't like get knocked out of a poker tournament, like bring me happiness. but I think people that are really hurting hurt other people, and it gives them a temporary outlet. So if that's happening and people are hurting of no fault of their own and they're going to hurt, then everyone would just be like exponential growth, which is math, where it just grows and grows and grows and grows. And that's actually how I proved the surreal law of positivity attraction. Because when I think better, I would help more. And when I'd help more with my friend who I thought was my friend, I thought he was appreciating the relationship more. It made me feel better when I saw that. When I felt better, I thought better. When I thought better, I could help more. Help more, see that he's more appreciative of a relationship, made me feel better. When I feel better, I thought, right, see, I'm going to keep going and going. But that's proven a surreal law. So the surreal law of negativity works where it's like when you're going negative, like you're hurting more. When you hurt more, you keep hurting and you hurt more. Then all wrongful actions would be out of our control. Like I said, we should just be thinking predetermination because, and it explains why things like pride is a sin because we're taking credit for accomplishments that we don't know we had anything to do with. So if it's a guessing, it's either us or God. Why am I saying God? I should be saying Creator because of all the wrongful deaths, but that's in the last video. Also, judgment's making opinions about things.